Hey guys, it's Maymay, and today we're working in tiny pieces of paper. These pieces of paper are 2 1/8 by 2 1/8. What I wanted to do was create those tiny little envelopes that you see floating around and have their own little cards and things, and they're so stinking cute. But I'm going to be honest with you, I was a little intimidated about how do I make this tiny envelope. So I've been playing in my craft room and I've come up with what I think is a simple way to do it. So all you have to have is a ruler that has measurements through the inside. Now I use the Tim Holtz ruler, and as you can see it has a grid kind of in the middle, and as long as you have any ruler that you can work with the grid on the inside, you'll be okay. So I'm going to use my Tim Holtz ruler, a scoring bone folder, and then 2 1/8 by 2 1/8 pieces of paper. Super simple, great way to use your scraps. Now we're going to be really close today because I'm going to try to get this where you can see it. So when we start to work on one individual, I'm going to zoom you guys in, okay? But before we get started, I want to tell you something. Gareth put out a little sneaky preview that he and I are doing a challenge in the month of February. A super cool challenge, and here's how it's going to be. We're going to push the envelope board. So today we're making envelopes in honor of my challenge that starts in February. So every Friday in the month of February, Gareth and I will challenge each other to do a different type of project using the envelope board. So we have different themes for each week. And what we want you guys to do, if you have an envelope punch board, or if you don't and you like to play making envelopes, you can still play along. So what you'll do is you'll watch our video on Friday where he and I will both challenge each other in a theme of an envelope, and then you make one and share it with us on MaymayMadeIt, and so did I on Facebook. So it should be super fun. Keep a watch out for those. They'll start the first Friday in February. Okay, let's make a card. Here we go. The first thing we're going to do is just pick a piece of paper, and I think I'm going to use this guy because it seems to be simple enough for the camera to focus on. And now let me zoom you guys in as much as I can. Okay, if I get too close, I get blurry, so I have to be careful about that. Now with the Tim Holtz ruler, like I said, there are grids on the inside, and those are going to be our friend in this project. Here's what you'll do. You'll take your piece of paper. This is hard to do, so if I'm moving a lot, that's why. You're going to take your piece of paper and your ruler. You're going to lay your ruler across your piece of paper, and you're going to line up the center grid line. Now on a Tim Holtz ruler, the center line is 3/4 of an inch in. So if you don't have a Tim Holtz ruler and you're using a different ruler, it's 3/4 of an inch in, okay? So you're going to line up that center grid line with the top and bottom of this little pointed piece of paper because we've laid it on the diagonal, okay? Then you're going to take your bone folder and you're just going to score here, and then on the other side, leaving it right where it is, just go ahead and get those two sides scored and we're good, okay? Now we're going to turn this guy where we are the opposite direction of the way we were, so our score lines are now at the top and bottom, okay? Bring your ruler back over. This time, instead of lining up at the middle of our grid, we're going to move over 1/8 of an inch, okay? So now we have, let me count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 eighths lined up. And on a Tim Holtz ruler, it's dots. It's not a solid line, okay? So now you're just going to come over and score this side. Now you can't score this side here because if you do, it'll be too short. So you're going to have to flip it. So you're just going to turn this around. Okay, put that same mark back, go back to 5 eighths, and the way I do it is I line it up in the middle first and then scoot it over 1/8, and that way I know I'm in the right spot. Hope that makes sense. And then score. Okay, now you do not have to do this next part, but for purposes of the video I'm going to do it so you can see this. The reason we changed our measurements up just slightly is because this little envelope cannot be, it can be, you can make it a perfect square if you wanted, but I wanted it to overlap just a little bit to look more like a traditional envelope. So you can see that where my score lines overlap on these little sections, I'm just snipping this tiny little piece away. And again, you don't have to do this. You can fold this paper. It'll be a little bit bulky, but not bad. So once you've done that, I'm going to lay this down. I'm going to flip it over too because I think you'll be able to see that better. Yeah. So once you lay this down, you have this little tiny envelope that kind of looks like something you punched with the punch board. Isn't that cute as it can be? Okay. Now we're going to fold. You use the shorter sides as your sides and the longer ones as your top and bottom. So we're going to fold inward on the side. And I will tell you this trick. I've tried this with cardstock and it does not work the same. You need to use paper. And if you had origami paper, it'd probably be even better because this paper is very thin though, so it's working pretty good. Then we're going to fold up this other side and score it. Now just pick the side you want to be the bottom. I'm going to use this to help me lift it up because I struggle with my fingers sticking it to my cutting mat. And then score. Okay. And then look at this cute little envelope. I'm not going to fold it down yet because I want you to see it like that. How cute is that? So then when you're ready to fold it, you just bring the top down and fold it. Now sometimes you may get a little hangover or something if you didn't trim it just right, but that's no big deal. You can clean that up. But look how cute. Oh my goodness, it's so cute. Okay, so let's make the other ones. We're going to do the same thing, and I want to walk you through it one more time to make sure you got it, okay? So you take your Tim Holtz ruler or whatever ruler you have. Now, I will tell you this. The reason these measurements work is because this is an 1.5 inch wide ruler. If your ruler is not an 1.5 inch wide, you're just going to have to do the measurements differently, and I'll tell you how this time. Like I said, the center of this ruler is 3/4 of an inch, okay? So if you're using a different ruler, just line your 3/4 of an inch line up with those 2 points and score. Okay, and then because this is an 1.5 inch ruler, I can go ahead and do this side because it makes it the same on both sides. All right, then I'm going to flip it around and I'm going to put that middle back, but this time I'm going to slide back 1/8 of an inch so I can get 5/8 score on this side. Okay, I'm going to turn this guy around, slide it back to 5/8 of an inch, and then score it again. So it doesn't matter which ruler you're using, but if it's wider, just use the measurements instead of the ruler itself as your guide. All right, I'm going to snip these little edges. And they are so tiny. And like I said, you don't have to snip them, but I think it makes the little envelope much more precision. It just looks neater and cleaner. And you would think with something this tiny you could get away with being a little sloppier, but I don't think you can. I think it really messes up your folds. But you do what you're comfortable with. Okay. So there he is again, and you can see the little nicks that I took out. All right, let's assemble him. So we take our long sides and they go top and bottom. Then our short sides get folded in first. Okay. Folding this short side, if I can pick it up. It's so tiny, y'all. And I have big hands, so this makes for delicate work. Okay, let's fold this one down. All right. And then the top. So you have these really cute little envelopes. Now, I haven't glued it in place yet. I wanted to show you these real quick, how to do them. And now we'll glue them. And I'm going to use my art glitter glue. And the reason is because I can get a very fine line. And it seals really quick. But you could use Tombow. Just don't use too much, because you know with Tombow you can get a little out of hand. And pretty quickly even. Now, I'm not going to be putting anything inside of these. But if you were, you wouldn't want to, you want to make sure you don't seal the whole thing down. But I'm not worried about that because I'm not putting anything inside of them. So now let's do this little guy. This time, let me make sure I'm in the screen. Oh, this time, I'm going to put it over here so you can see it on the red. Can you see that glue? And then seal it down. I just love tiny envelopes. And you can't really get these out of a punch board, not that I've seen, unless there's an actual, I mean, at 2 1/8, someone could make a punch for these, couldn't they? That would be awesome, huh? Okay, maybe I just gave somebody an idea. All right, so, Fiskars if you're watching, right? Okay, so here's 2 of them. I'm going to make 4 more, and then we're going to put them on a card. Okay guys, so I have my 6 envelopes made. How stinking cute. I just can't stand it. It's so cute. And I also did some fussy cutting from one of the pieces of paper that I used for this one and just cut out some little hearts. If you have a punch, just punch some little hearts, but I actually don't have a heart punch, which I cannot believe For our card, I have a card base that is a cream colored. I want you to notice that I'm not using traditional Valentine colors. That's another thing Gareth and I are going to challenge each other to do in our challenge, is to do love or Valentine themed projects and not use traditional colors. Because so many times I have people saying, what other colors can I use for Valentines? Well, this is going to look like a Valentine, but totally not be the same traditional colors. So I'm going to move these guys out of the way for a minute. And I've already scored this, so this is an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock that I cut in half long ways, which makes it 4 1/4 by 5.5. And if you know anything about me, that's an A2 card, and that's pretty much the size I make. So we're going to score that down just like that. And now I'm just going to play with the placement of these guys. And I'm just going to lay them on. I'm not going to seal them down. I'm going to try to mix colors up. I'm not going to glue them down yet. Try to mix up the colors so that I don't end up with all blues on one side and all reds on the other. And I know you've seen this style card on Pinterest. I see them all over the place, and I always want to make one. And their envelopes are even tinier. But after you master this, you probably could make even tinier ones. Alright, so I'm going to put them down something like this. And I'm just going to eyeball the straightness of that. But before I do it, I want to stamp right down here on the bottom. So I'll move these out of the way so I know how my placement's going to be. And I'm going to use my stamp set that is Trixie's Valentine, believe it or not. And the one I'm going to use is the one that says, Will You Be Mine? Because it's a nice straight line. And I got to thank you guys. I showed that stamp set the other day, and y'all bought almost all of them. There are 2 sets left as of the time I'm filming this video. There'll be a link below if you're interested. But they flew out the door, the ones I had left. So I'm going to ink this up, and right down at the bottom, Will You Be Mine? Stamp that down there. And now we can put those guys in place. Can you see that little sentiment? I like the text on this one. This was one of my favorite kinds of fonts. Just a nice clean font. Okay, so we will start with this first one here. And I'm thinking, let me get this one lined up too, just to kind of see how far apart I want them. If I get these first 2 lined up like I want them, then the rest will just fall into place. It's too far over. And you can do measurements with your ruler. You can make marks with a pen. I'm actually going to make a mark with my white gel pen because I'll be able to see it. But I don't think anyone else will be able to see it. Yep, I can see it. Okay. Back to my art glitter glue. This also gives me a minute. The wet glue will give me a second to move it around to get it into place. There's my line, which I bet you guys can't see at all. Get that guy on there. Some more glue back here. Woo, throwing stuff around. Then this little guy. Just going to check the placement real quick and move it around as I need to. Okay, got those down, and now we'll put these guys down. Now we're just eyeballing the same distance between them. So we know the distance from the edge because we can see that. And then just kind of the same distance. I'm not stressing. It's going to be cute whether I get them perfect or not. So now we have all these little envelopes and they're all flipping up. Look how cute they are. I like them sticking up. I don't want them to be closed down. But what I do want to do is add these little hearts that I did. And I'm going to put them like here, here, and here. So the one I put up here, I'm going to make it the red one. So I'm just going to put a little dot of glue on that flap and then bring that little heart onto it. I think that's super cute. And still let it flap open. And then I'm going to use, let's see, I'll have to use the green one here. So put a little dot of glue and some green. And a green heart. So there's that one. And then this one gets the brown heart. I think this card screams Valentine's, me personally. And nothing on it is traditional colors, which I like. I think that's kind of super cool. So let me bring this up where you can see it. Look how cute they are. Now you could totally put something inside of them. Like if you wanted one of them to have a little note, let's do one. So this is a little piece of cardstock just from my stash, and it says X's and O's on it. And look, you could stick it right out of this one, and it would be hugs and kisses. And you could even tuck it down in there, and then the recipient could pull it out. And see, it'd have a little note in there. That's super cute, like a little love note. Love it. Alright guys, that's how you make those little tiny envelopes. And this is totally crooked. Can you see how crooked I got it? It doesn't matter. It's homemade and it's beautiful, and whoever gets it's going to love it. And if you want to, you can line them up better than I did, but you know, whatever. Alright, that's it guys. This is our little envelope card, and I think it is so precious. I hope that helps you when you're trying to make your tiny envelopes. Just remember a ruler and a bone folder and some little 2 1/8 by 2 1/8 pieces of paper, and that's how you get these little size envelopes. By the way, the finished product on these little guys, because I bet you want to know, is 1 1/4 inches by 1.5 inches. So there you go. Alright, be watching for our challenge that will start every Friday in February. And you guys play along. If you make these tiny envelopes, please go to the Facebook page and show me a picture of what you do. Alright, I will talk to you soon guys. Bye-bye.